The Pharaoh's Treasure event that we have going on right now in GMS is kinda like a roguelike solo party quest, and to get some of the best rewards from this event, you're going to need to do hardcore, which disables the meta progression. Also known as the permanent buffs you're able to buy with the eternal points that you earn from either succeeding or failing a run. Now, some of the better rewards from this come from two specific different challenges, or groups of challenges. One of them being clearing all of the 5 chapters on hardcore. That particular achievement awards you with 3 magnificent growth potions, and on the other hand, you have to complete chapter 5 with one of each job. But what I'm here to focus on is the hardcore challenges specifically, because hardcore is, well, it's meant to be a challenging experience, and without the meta progression system, you do not have the option of failing upwards. So first, the basics. There are 5 jobs, one representing each of the main class archetypes in MapleStory, and whatever character you log in and go to the temple on, that is the class you will be playing as. And from my own experiences, there are 2 jobs that are absolutely destroying the rest of them, and that is Archer and Warrior. These 2 have amazing starting abilities, one of which should be heavily focused on, and the other, being Warriors, you should not touch at all. More on that in a little bit. Now, as for the other 3 class archetypes, Pirate and Thief honestly aren't too bad. They have pretty good starting abilities, but I find they are deeply flawed compared to Archer and Warriors. And Mage, in my opinion, is absolute hell difficulty. Please do not do hardcore on a Mage unless you are particularly looking for a challenge. It's possible they are just late bloomers and get really good later on, but from my own experiences, they're terrible. And honestly, with the level of RNG that's in this particular event, you really don't want a bad starting ability, and I feel like that's what really holds Mage back. Then when it comes to Chapter 5, when you do actually need to use one of each job, not for hardcore, don't worry, you will have a ton of meta progression points from the Eternal Points system, and even Mage can be powerful, I'm sure, if you have a bunch of stats already pumped in from the start. First off, let's go over Archer. Their main ability is basically a pseudo-hurricane with the Wild Hunter-like effect where they can shoot in one direction while moving in the opposite direction, or forward, whatever you want to do. Double tap in the other direction and you'll start shooting in the opposite direction. This obviously is amazing at killing bosses. Very good at clearing rooms too, but it has its moments where elevation is a little unkind. Further upgrades to this ability are going to add little homing shots that basically function a little bit like Trifling Wind from the Wind Archer class. Overall, this ability does a ton of damage. It's not only excellent at bossing, but it's also very defensive in just the regular stages, as it is very easy to just keep mobs at bay and constantly stun lock the things closest to you. However, there is a pretty big caveat with the Archer class, and that is their main attack is incapable of breaking the vases. And if you didn't know, these can have gold in them, a lot of it over the course of a single run. It is a little bit of a downside, but honestly, the Archer class is incredibly strong, and they really don't need the gold to be just as strong, if not stronger than the Warrior class. Not to mention, they can get other abilities that aren't capable of breaking the vases. They're on cooldowns, and that adds a lot of time to the run, and I just really wouldn't recommend it. As for the other abilities you can pick up throughout the run, Archers have some excellent choices, mostly from the Wind Archer's repertoire. Fairy Spiral ends up being a very quick AoE move, Monsoon is an excellent map wiper, and Howling Gale is an absolute monster of a move, just as it is outside of this mode. But the thing is that the Archer's starting ability is so damn good that honestly you don't really need anything else. Any extra ability you can get is just a bonus, but anytime you're offered skills and you can upgrade your main attack, do that one, because it's way more important. Now, Warrior, on the other hand, total opposite of the Archer class. Their starting ability is amazing, but upgrading it, in my opinion, is a massive mistake. You see, the very first upgrade for the Warrior's ability adds a forced movement to it. Not only that, it just seems to slow down the combo and make you lose DPS, which is really not what you want. That may strictly not be true, but honestly, do it for yourself. I think it feels horrible, and forced movement in this mode is really bad because there are traps everywhere, there's janky movement. When you do have forced movement on your ability, you just go flying all over the place and glitch around. It's unpleasant. The Warrior's ability is perfect how it is. Get attack speed, stack damage, and it will shred everything. And keep in mind, this attack works a lot better when you hold the button down almost like a hurricane. Even with no attack speed, it's relatively quick, and it is incredibly defensive, stun locking anything that's near you and does pretty good damage. As for other abilities, Warrior honestly doesn't really need much else, but Nightshade Explosion is a real standout. This thing is just a nuclear bomb when you press it, things just die. Or half a boss's health bar just disappears. It's really good. Other than that, I really wouldn't try to aim for extra skills. I would instead just go for relics and permanent stats because they're way stronger overall for the warrior class. Which, let's just talk about that, how the run is actually going to go. You're always going to be offered 4 different primary upgrade options: gold, stats, relics, and skills. And of course, as is with rogue tradition, RNG is really going to dictate your run here. Sometimes you're just going to pop off and go insane. Other times you're going to be starved for exactly what you need, and your run just might fall flat or will be really unpleasant. While I don't believe there are any hard and fast rules of what you should always do, there are certain things that I always try to do. Early on and pretty consistently throughout the run, I like to take permanent stats over almost anything else. That is the room with the 3 little colored dots. Early on, I always try to make sure I pick up at least 1 to 2 dex upgrades. This makes your movement speed and jump a lot better, which is not only good for dodging bosses, but it also just makes the run a lot quicker overall. Now, in cases where dexterity is not offered early on, if crit rate is offered instead, that is another excellent pickup, as the values don't really scale nearly as well as attack power does, or possibly at all. And as far as stats like HP, defense, and avoidability go, I never take those, because if you have really good damage, you really don't need those. Attack power, on the other hand, attack power is king. This is the stat that will make you win or fail this run. If you are never offered base attack, you're gonna have a bad time, and by a bad time, you're gonna fail. It's just that simple. No amount of OP relics or a bunch of crit rate is going to save a bad base attack. Everything scales off the base attack, and that is why you take things like dexterity and crit rate early on, because the attack power buffs are really small. They're still very good, but they will not compare to the couple thousands at a time that they offer you later on. Sometimes you'll also get offered attack speed as well, but you will potentially get a lot of this from relics, and if you're an archer, probably don't take attack speed. I don't know if it actually works, but since it doesn't work on hurricanes outside of this mode, I wouldn't try it on the one in this mode either. And even for warrior, I wouldn't call attack speed necessary. Their main attack is pretty damn quick. Attack speed does make it feel better, but I just wouldn't call it necessary. It is important to throw a somewhat healthy balance of relics in there, but honestly, base stats are just so good, and relics are going to come. You're going to find some from drops, you're going to combine them, get some good ones, and you're going to be forced into a couple shops along the way. As for gold itself, never take a gold room on purpose. It doesn't matter if you're broke, if you don't have enough, or if you just missed an upgrade because you didn't have enough gold. Gold is too unpredictable. You may never get something good to spend it on, and you may just have to fodder it for junk relics that you want to try to combine. The only time I would ever really consider taking gold over another room is if you are playing the warrior class and you're offered skills the other way, which even then, I may still be tempted to take the skills just so I have more abilities to play with. They often end up speeding up your run in some kind of way, whether it be just clearing mobs quicker or just getting around the map quicker, so it can be helpful. Gold, on the other hand, as I've already said, it's just too unpredictable, and you get gold for free throughout the run constantly, whether it be through pots or killing enemies. That being said, I do like to keep a decent amount of gold on me. Don't go spending it on junk, because sometimes you're offered these passive stat increases from these altars, and those can be incredibly good. Again, passive stats, just fantastic. Sometimes you'll also be offered these little alternative paths that offer you 2 rewards, and those, always take them. These are incredibly easy to survive, and honestly, I like these way more than normal stages anyway. And as for the relics, there is nothing I can say about the relics. They're completely random in what you get. There are some general guidelines. There's an NPC you can talk to back at the headquarters that'll tell you the rates for combining relics and what your outcome might be. And there's also this handy dandy sheet going around the community right now that somebody else made that shows you guaranteed combinations. I highly recommend you keep this sheet in front of you at all times while you're doing this mode, or maybe a different sheet if a better one exists out there. I doubt this one is comprehensive, but it's certainly been good enough for me so far. That's really all you need to know. Base stats are king. Play warrior and archer, avoid the mage. If anyone out there have a good experience at mage, please share it below, because God, that class was an abomination in this mode. And if you have any other information that you feel would help people out, feel free to share it in the comments below, because these are just my own experiences. And while I've had very easy times with these in hardcore so far, it's always possible to get easier, or maybe I missed something with another class. But in any case, I hope this helps if you've been struggling with this mode. Thank you for watching this, and thanks to my members and patrons for supporting me as always, and I'll see you in the next one.